Good morning, Scott here, known as Cantaloupe to some online, and I'm bringing a video to you on a subject that's interesting to me. It might be of interest to you or someone you know, and this is going to be a short follow-up to some recent videos I've posted regarding my ladies, Kayla, Brenly, and Demolition Lover is Grace Lillian, who I consider to be a lady, of course, and my wife and my stepdaughter, Ophelia, and I'm going to shout out here and give a quick update about some status that is going on with these people. If you have watched my recent videos, you may know already that I chose to withdraw my marriage proposal to Kayla after 2 months, give or take. 2 months had passed after I proposed, and I had not gotten a committal response from her, so I went ahead and withdrew that. However, I want to be clear that there is no animosity. I mentioned this in my video. There's no hatred or hostility whatsoever. There's still only fondness towards her from me, and I want to be clear about that. I check in on her channel. I did unsubscribe because I don't want to keep getting notifications about her videos, because at this point I'm a little bit confused about her stance on some things, including myself, if there is any. I'm not assuming there is. I'm just saying that she has recently deleted like 90% of all of her videos. Okay, so she goes through these periods, and I'm not judging or criticizing at all, but it's a little bit of a surprise, and it's a sign of instability of some sort, not mental instability necessarily, but some kind of perhaps emotional or situational instability, and I don't really know the reason, but she has periodically gone through her videos and deleted huge chunks of work that she has created, and that's concerning. It's a little bit concerning, and at this point I just noticed her actual videos, that's the long form videos, the number of videos has shrunk to almost nothing, and she had hundreds last year or the year before, and now she's just down to maybe a dozen or so, and I don't know what happened, and I guess it's not my business, but I don't want to keep following because it's too turbulent at the moment, and I do check in, and my point is I have fondness, I check in periodically, but I did have to back away a little bit because of some comments and the apparent turbulence of her situation. I definitely don't want to make things worse for her. That was never my intention whatsoever. So with that said, I want to reach out to Brinley, my lady Brinley, at Unknown Bryn on YouTube. She has a lot of great shorts and content herself, and she's apparently doing better than in the past, and I'm not trying to analyze people this morning or pass judgment, but she has had some personal issues that she can speak to herself. She doesn't need me to speak for her, but she seems to be doing well, is my point. She seems to be a little bit happier sometimes, most of the time, I hope, and she's in my thoughts, so I'll just leave it at that. I hope she has a great day, Brinley, if you see this. And at Demolition Lover, Grace Lillian, I've mentioned her a few times, and she is also in my thoughts. She's working on some music projects and some other things, and I just want to clarify, because she seems interested. I'm picking up on some interest in news, if nothing else, about possibilities moving forward, about perhaps connecting with developers or music engineers, that kind of thing. She will at some point, if she's pursuing a music career, probably want to network with people, and I just want to mention that I am still unclear personally as to what went on with her recent experiment with her boyfriend. She had a boyfriend, and these things are connected, and I'll connect them in just a second. So she was pretty vocal and candid about her relationship until recently. There hasn't been much information on her posts, but she did mention that she felt out the possibility with this person, a significant other, as to what sort of future they might look forward to, and she elliptically hinted that the response or the result was not favorable, not satisfactory, something like that. I don't know. So my point is, my question, I guess, if she sees this video, is what is the status? Did she break up? Did she not break up? Is she open to talking to other men? Because from my perspective, if I am with a girl, like her boyfriend is with her, I don't necessarily want my ladies associating with other men, in any capacity. I don't necessarily want them, socializing, hanging out, and this is perhaps a point of contention. And I don't think it's that unusual because men, heterosexual men especially, represent a conflict of interest. And if there's something she needs, my significant other, my wife or my girlfriend needs, I want to be able to provide that. I don't want her getting, sustenance or income or supplemental income or whatever from other people, because that it's a conflict of interest. Like I said, the other men gain an interest in your daily routine. They gain access to you. You incur a debt when you accept any kind of compensation for anything, unless you're selling products, right? Unless you're like making music or art or whatever. That I would understand. That would be different. That would be a customer in that case, not a social companion or a romantic companion potentially. So anyway, I go on and on. At 6 minutes, I will say one last thing on this subject. I think that women typically want to reserve their rights to be with whoever and see whoever and act however they like, without any question, without any consideration for other people. And this seems to be the first order of business when you meet a person, meet a woman. There's some kind of insistence on meeting her terms. And one of those terms that I just mentioned, that she's going to want to keep her male friends for some reason. I understand, because it's like a backup plan, and it's also a lever in a relationship. If you have your circle of male friends, it's like a constant threat, right? So you can force obedience, you can force behavior, but here's the problem. This is an old idea, and actually a lot of people are familiar with it. You've heard of having an affair. Everybody's familiar with cheating. If you're committed to somebody, the idea of cheating is you have sex with somebody without telling your partner, without disclosing it. There's something called an emotional affair, which is also pretty famously known, an emotional affair, but it's even simpler than that. It's simpler than that. When you understand what romance is, when you understand what love is, that it is quality time, pretty much exclusively, just that one thing. It's quality time. So if you're spending quality time, however you describe your relationship with your friends, your male friends, your companions or business partners or whatever, if you're actually spending a great deal of quality time with anybody who is a male as a female, you can be said to be cheating. I think, and you're free to disagree, and I think most women are probably going to disagree, just on the grounds that they have an expectation of total freedom to see whoever, whenever, no matter who they're dating, and this is, it's unprecedented in this day and age. It really is. In the past, a lot of the so-called abuses that women have complained about have been the expectation of their male partners to remain faithful and exclusive is the word, exclusive. But in their defense, in women's defense on this point, the men have handled it very, very badly. They have insisted. They have said, okay, I'm going to punish you. I'm going to require you to do this, or there's going to be consequences if you don't. That's not the right way to do it. She's free to leave. Okay, this is the only proper way to do it. If she wants male friends, maybe you're not giving her what she needs, and that is usually and oftentimes a valid complaint. If she is getting too little attention, or if she is bored, or if she is languishing without enough toys or finances or opportunities, and if she wants to start a business, she's allowed to do that, then she's going to branch out legitimately. She's going to want to meet people, including men, but that's a failure on the part of her significant other, who cannot punish her. Now here's the point. He cannot, lord that over her. He cannot, not justifiably, not even legally. He can't abuse her. It's called extortion. It's called sexual abuse or sexual harassment. And you can't actually sexually harass your significant other, your girlfriend or boyfriend or wife or husband. And what he can do, the only thing he can do, is he can say, "Here's the door. If you want a life, help yourself. Maybe this just isn't working. He has to accept that. Whether they're married or not, he has to give her the exit. He cannot chain her to the stovepipe, figuratively or literally. And this is how men have handled it. So my point is, men have handled it so badly that women now insist, they require as one of their opening terms, before she even considers meeting you, that all of her male acquaintances, sexual or not, and she'll tell you that they're just friends, remain an option and remain active in her life. But it's, at some point, she has to consider the possibility that it's a conflict of interest for the male. If the male is self-respecting, if the male is decent, if he is an actual, like, honorable, loving provider who does his job, and it does happen, these people exist, it's a conflict of interest for him if you're hanging out with men, if you're hanging out at parties where men are and they're socializing with you, if you're being promiscuous, okay, whether it's sexual or not. If it's quality time, that becomes a conflict of interest. So back to the point. I mentioned shout-outs, right? I'm going on and on a tangent. I think there's confusion regarding Kayla. I want to circle back to Kayla. Kayla is not operating by herself. Kayla's 14. She has a circle of advocates, and she should have her sisters and her friends and her family. Absolutely she should. And I'm not trying to part them. I'm not saying that they should separate or that they're all toxic or anything like that. I'm saying that not everybody's advice is on point. Not everybody's advice is designed to help you or is rooted in actual wisdom. And I also think that there are influences in Kayla's life in particular, coming from certain celebrities, and I'm not going to name names in this video, but some jilted, bitter, disgruntled celebrities who have made a career potentially on mining the demographic of heartbroken, angry females. And you may know who I'm talking about, but because of all the things I just said, this is the worst advice a female can take. Somebody who has never found happiness in her life until perhaps recently. I think that there's a lot to be said for thinking independently, especially in this case. There's a lot to be said for finding your own way and taking everything with a grain of salt. And I'm not selling anything here. Kayla, if you see this, I think that you have a really good head on your shoulders, and that's what interested me to begin with. You are a smart girl, and I still trust you. And last thing I'll say in conclusion, the proposal was withdrawn, yes. And I'm still waiting for some kind of human communication. And it may never come. That's okay too. But the reason it was withdrawn wasn't because of feelings. It wasn't because of lack of feelings or lack of trust. It was because it's been a couple of months and I don't want to just keep it out there indefinitely. It doesn't make sense. So something's not working. I think we can agree on that. But I would caution you to be careful whose advice you really listen to and take to heart, because there are a lot of very bitter, unhappy people out there despite current appearances. Something to think about. Have a beautiful day, everybody. Kayla, Brinley, Grace Lillian, my wife Jennifer, my daughter Ophelia, and everybody who sees this video. Thank you. Reach out with comments down below. Bye.